So the second item I'm bringing to the commission is, deals with the sustainability of the assessment center as we move forward. When we ended up purchasing the building at 345 North 5th and remodeling it, the building was a little bit bigger than the one we had originally planned to build. There were some discussions about possible leasing options of a couple offices. And really what I'm here today, I've talked briefly with the Idaho Department of Juvenile Corrections. They have a district liaison who's Stace Gearhart and a juvenile services coordinator who's Drew Burrell. Stace's duties are really, he collaborates with all the probation departments in the district and kind of communicates back and forth to the state. Drew works with juveniles that are coming out of the Department of Juvenile Corrections, working with families of kids that are in the Department of Juvenile Corrections and then helping to set up kind of reintegration plans. But through discussing possible lease options, initially they had talked about maybe leasing for $8,000 a year. I felt like that was pretty low based on just the cost of maintenance and things like that. And so they've come back and provided kind of an agreement. It's a rough draft, but I felt like this is a good point to seek permission from the commission to follow up and look into the lease options. I think this is really just a discussion today to get approval to do that and move forward on it. But in this, they have come up with $15,000 a year or $1,250 per month to lease 2 offices. With that, they would be allowed to use some common areas. And I kind of, at the end of this packet, addendum A, or yeah, Exhibit A, I kind of have that outlined as to what office space that would be and what that would look like.
I think it's a great deal. I think if we can lease out some of that building and supplement.
Yeah, I think when you look at the data system, that lease would pay for the data system. When I look at sustainability, we are charging and have for years $100 for prevention programs. Now, if a family we know doesn't have the financial ability and we're taking food off the table or things like that, we're waiving those fees and finding another way for accountability, whether it be through community service or service learning projects with the youth. But to date, since July, we've collected around $12,000 in those fees, and I think we've been pretty lax in waiving them at times. And so, I think between the, in my opinion, between the lease and the use of those prevention fees, we could cover the data system and the screening tools that are needed. And then once, and just so everybody's aware, we're going to be carrying over $80,000 to $90,000 from state fiscal year 24 into state fiscal year 25, and that can be used as we need to for the assessment center. So there is some leeway and sustainability for the next couple of years as we move forward.
I think there's a few things we need to iron out before we move forward. We need to figure out where the money's going to go into. So where are your assessment fees going?
I believe they're going into the trust.
Okay. Because this money we'll have to figure out where it's going to go.
Yeah.
So we need to decide if we're going to set up a fund for the village and those monies go in there, or because we can't run them through the grant. And right now everything for the village is running through a grant. So we need to figure that part out. This is going to be additional lease reporting, which I'll just send to Whitfley and they can deal with. But
And I'd be happy to do the invoicing similar to what I've been doing now with the grant and submitting.
Honestly, I'd rather us do the billing for the rent.
Okay.
And we can just, if they're good with annual,
For the
it just
lease?
keeps it easy, yeah.
Okay.
But I think we do the invoicing for the lease.
Okay.
Well, to move forward, I think you two need to have a conversation and look at all this. Brian needs to make sure we look at it. But if there's an opportunity for us to
And that's,
get money from the state instead of pay money to the state, I think it's a positive.
that's really what I wanted to do today, is get, permission to move forward on it, make the commission aware of this opportunity, and then let the state know, we can move forward on it if I have your blessing.
I do have a couple of questions. Idaho Department of Juvenile Corrections, you're looking to lease them 2 offices.
Correct.
Are they going to have clients coming in?
So Drew may have clients from time to time, families that come in. He meets with parents, I believe, at times. A lot of their correspondence is done over Zoom. Drew does sit in on every staffing from the Idaho Department of Juvenile Corrections. There's monthly staffings for every youth that's there from Bannock County, and he sits in on those. Sometimes he travels there, sometimes he's meets by Zoom. There would be the possibility of families coming into the building. We would have, office hours. Our AmeriCorps members and our family engagement specialists are managing that front door, and so there would be a little bit of them, transferring phone calls or letting them know, hey, your client's here. I don't think it would be the volume that we're dealing with in the evenings over there, so.
I don't think you have that front desk manned all the time, do you?
So it depends on, we try to. We try to. During the school hours, things are a little bit slower over there. Our prevention officers are at the schools checking on kids, and so there may be times where it may not be, but someone's in the building and there's a doorbell, so yeah.
Is there any potential conflict between their clients and our current clients?
So I don't believe so. The one thing I would say is that the risk level of those kids coming, they wouldn't be in the office before they go to IDJC. They may come in and check in with Drew, but really once they come out of the Department of Juvenile Corrections, they're meeting with a PO. And so Drew's, I could get a little bit more information because I don't know exactly what Drew's day looks like, but I do believe that he is meeting with parents from time to time, but it wouldn't be the youth because they're at the Department of Juvenile Corrections.
And I notice when I'm in there that there's a lot of open offices. Is there, in other words, there's office doors are open and there's nobody in the offices. Is that a concern if we have people coming in and you've got a meeting and someone gets up to go to the bathroom on the other side of the building and they're walking around and there's open, is that an issue at all?
So it could be, and we do have locks on those doors. It might be just a matter of putting policy in place that you shut your door and lock it when you're not in it. Mm-hmm. We do have cameras, and and I think you're probably there in the afternoon when
usually
like
between
lunchtime.
11 and 2.
Yeah.
When I've been in there.
Yeah. Yeah, we have 11 offices, and part of the challenge has been right now. For a while there, we were understaffed. We had open positions, so we only had 1 full-time, myself, and then 2 part-time, and then the AmeriCorps and interns. But we're almost fully staffed. We'll have 2 full-time positions and then 6 part-time positions once we're fully staffed. Right now, we're looking to hire the other full-time, and we currently have 5 part-time positions filled. There's 11 offices, which would leave, if we did lease those 2 offices out, it would leave 1 open office for our psychiatrist, our resident psychiatrist, our counseling interns. There are 3 other rooms that are used for counseling or screenings. And then that back room with the 4 desks would be used for our AmeriCorps and interns. So I feel like we would utilize the building much better.
Yeah. In general, I'm for this kind of thing, but I definitely want to make sure, we have a mission there currently.
For sure.
We're bringing in a different group, and I just want to make sure that their mission or their clientele is not going to negatively impact what we're set up for in the first place.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you look at the other thing is if you look at the offices on the drawing, the 2 offices they would have would be in that back section by the public bathroom. Mm-hmm. So we would kind of keep things somewhat separated, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I agree with Commissioner Moser. I think it's worth exploring.
And the only other thing I'd say is make sure that Dan looks, I mean, I don't know what they're gonna require.
Yeah, when I look through the lease, there might be, the one thing that comes to mind is, I'm not sure, sure as far as the internet. I know their firewall is different than ours, like the VPN or whatever. I know at times Stace comes into the building to work with us a little bit, and he's getting on a VPN. So I think Adam would be someone to talk to as well.
Okay.
Adam, Dan, and, well, Christie.
Adam, Dan, Christie.
Yeah. So,
That's players.
Yep.
So.
all
Okay.
right.
Let's go ahead and move forward with it. Talk with those individuals, and we need to have more conversation before we sign a contract or get that point. We'll do that.
Okay, I appreciate your time, thank you.
I'll
And support.
work Brian on the contract too.
Okay.
Make sure he's got it.
All right. So I've got to get that grant submitted by end of the day, so should I take it to Christie or just get it?
Yes.
I'm happy to walk down the stairs.
Stop by the office down there.
Thank you.
All right. Terry.
I'm Terry Johnson with Ag Extension.
Mickey Ennis, Bannock County Extension. So we're here today to request to reallocate some funds to our operating supplies, so we can purchase some cubicle dividers for our office staff.
And have we increased office? What promoted
Well,
this?
So with the new carpet and the painting and everything that we had, which is amazing, our office looks really great now. But we've moved some of our desks around to better fit in that front entrance area. And so with that, we've needed some cubicle dividers for that so that they can have their own space and keep things a little more private so people walking in aren't like looking at their computer screens or kind of what they're working on. So it's just more about kind of keeping it looking professional in the front and some privacy for our office staff.
And this wasn't included in the original budget, and so I just mentioned that we should have them come to you and get the formal, they have plenty of funds, it just is different than what the budget was proposed at, so
No,
we wanted to make sure you were aware.
I appreciate that.
Do we have this type of equipment excess
I
stored
checked
somewhere?
with Dan, and they don't have anything available. That was the first thing I did, to see if we could get something that was in his storage, and he says he has nothing available for us.
Well, that's too bad. Too bad you couldn't get something out of these judges' chambers that were remodeled. You could have a real high-class thing in there, so.
Okay. Any other concern?
No, no.
Okay. Motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve for the moving forward on these cubicles.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank
thank
you.
We
you.
appreciate it.
Yep, have a good day.
Shanda.
Good morning, Commissioners. Shanda Crystal, Chief Procurement Officer. I have a procurement update for the board. We want to jump down to the active bids. That first one for facilities, the 2 boilers. That one, I had originally put that we would publish on the 28th, but we had a few delays in architectural services, and so that one won't be live till Friday. But it is still moving forward, and we've got it approved, and it'll be open on Friday for us. The second one for the gel, the HVAC, that one has been published last week, and I've got a pre-proposal meeting set with Levi today at 11 for that project. The next one for emergency services for Lava Ranches. We had our final mandatory project on-site meeting on Tuesday, and we had 3 contractors attend. Again, one that we knew of and had previous experience with, and 2 new ones, so that was exciting. We have McKee Construction, Santiago, I believe is how you pronounce it, excavation, and 4D grading and excavation. So that is 6 contractors total. Those were mandatory pre-bids, meaning that nobody outside of those 6 companies will be allowed to bid. We constructed it that way because of the landscape that they would have to see. We didn't want anybody guessing at what type of equipment could or could not, handle this. We needed them on site and to have eyes on that project. So that will be, but it's a good size pool for that project. We had 3 last year and we've doubled it for this year. So we're excited to see how that project moves forward. And the final 2 I wanted to touch base with is the concert production and 6th Avenue. Both of those have contracts out that those companies are reviewing. I did have conversation with CM Company yesterday and got them a final draft after their adjustment that they requested. And so I anticipate hopefully both of them coming back. If I remember right, we don't have a meeting till Friday next week.
Correct.
So I'm hoping that both of those will be back before the board by then, but they're both out with those companies for review and signature on those. Are there any questions on any of them?
Maybe this is the ARPA discussion in the next little bit, but
Hang on for that.
the fair building, have you heard anything from Booth?
I haven't heard anything back. I know that it is in construction, in architectural services with them. But I did know that they wanted that annex out first, so they were putting most of their work there.
Okay.
Same deal with the jail, not jail, I'm sorry, the SWAT building expansion that they have out there. Alex got back with Ted yesterday on some adjustments that they would like to that initial drawing that they have there. But my understanding from Dan was that the first ones that will come out after the boiler is going to be the annex, the HVAC, fire suppression, things like that.
Okay.
But as far as I know, they have all the information they need. They're just now churning through all those projects.
Well, as we on the report is that they've got 25 of the
Sonotubes in the ground.
sonotubes in the
As they
ground
mentioned,
down in Downey.
Oh, for the,
And as we move forward with the
barn.
projects down there, I'd just like to kind of keep up on them as we meet at the fair board and
Okay.
keep them informed also.
Okay. I was CC'd on an email with Jamie between the company about the older barn, and that was it. That he's got to have confirmed that those tubes are cured, and then they'll arrange delivery for it. So
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any questions? All right. That brings us to, you can just stay there if you want. We're going to talk about ARPA
Hey, you thought you were escaping.
projects.
Mr. Clauser, Comptroller. Couple quick updates. I received some feedback when I sent the email out a couple weeks ago, and I've gotten a little bit more information since. Completed projects, the veterans, windows and roof are done. Also, I believe that the boiler for the veterans is done, but I had to send an email to Miguel, and I haven't heard back yet from him, but we did get an invoice for $30,175 that you guys probably signed in your claims today. I'm not going to release that check until I know for sure if that project is done.
Okay.
So when I hear back, I'll let you know. Other projects that have been completed are the DMV counter, elections, ADA doors, ag extensions, the grandstands, historical lighting. All of those projects are done. However, I'm waiting on invoices for most of them to know where we're at money-wise. The event center, that startup, the $2 million, last time I reported that was done. It is not. It will be this week. There was an admin fee for $60,000 that was included. I didn't want to include that as ARPA money, so I pulled that back out, and that's why it's not complete yet. But
Okay.
we get another couple of salaries, it'll be done. So that'll be done. There was a comment made in, I think it was last week's meeting, that we had moved $250,000 from that money to PILT. That is not correct. I want that on the record, that we do not move ARPA money to a different fund. All that money is spent out of the appropriate fund and reported accordingly. Let's see, so if you want to run down the list, I have Shanda gave me an update this morning about, a little bit before the meeting. The 6th Street is $1,021,225. I did make that adjustment on here, but it's at the 1055. So I need to take that $33,000 off, and we'll need to reallocate those dollars somewhere. Now that I have updated numbers, which may or may not change, right? Or is that done?
So, so that is the final number that came back after the approved adjustments to the scope were made. The one concern that we do have moving forward is that until you get into a project, you never know what the inside's going to look like. But that is the final that has been put on the contract as not to exceed, is that $1,021,225. Thank you. But if there are change orders, those would come back before the board and be requested. But that is our only concern at this point, is until we break into the building or the ground, right, not knowing what potentially we don't know.
So with commission approval, I'll adjust that number down to the $1,021,225. And then what my hope was for next year's budget is we'll budget a dollar amount somewhere for potential overages like that.
Okay.
Not in ARPA. I'd prefer to have all the dollars in ARPA allocated so that those things can get spent and we can just deal with overages elsewhere. So I'll adjust that.
That's fine.
Okay.
And that's what this is all about. I mean, we're gonna be up and down a little bit as we,
Yeah.
but we wanna know where the dollars are.
Okay. So I did
That's key.
take off the road and bridge roof per the meeting you guys had last week to reallocate those dollars to the 6th Street project. So that is zeroed out on this list. There's still a handful of projects that we need updates on. When I asked departments for some updates, there are some items that people are finding they might need additional funds. If you go to the bottom of this list, by taking off the road and bridge roof, we do have $195,000 that needs to be reallocated because we dropped off more than we added.
And
So I can run through, and also historical building. Dan has recommended that we take that 150 away for those restrooms because they want to have the facility open. So maybe what we could do is zero that dollar amount out also.
yes.
And then we can budget for that next year, or if they want to wait 2 years, we can talk to them when they come in for the budget meeting.
Yeah.
So do you want me to zero that out?
Yes, I'd say yes.
So how much money does that, do we now have that has to be reallocated?
So if I add that 150 there plus the 33 for the 6th Street, that's 345, 378,000 that we need to reallocate. Now, that number could easily go to a couple of different projects. The YDC building is going to be closer to $2 million. We've only got $1,544,000 budgeted, so I could add it to that project, which will get us closer to the $2 million mark. It's
And
not
that's what
quite
Dan
there.
suggested also. Are you guys here for the ARPA?
Yeah.
Come on up,
I'm sorry, that's what who suggested?
Dan
Dan.
Kendall.
Oh.
The other projects that might need a little bit more money is Enterprise is being less than, they're being a pain in the butt,
Yeah.
honestly. They won't get Shanda an invoice. They've only sent her spreadsheets, and the spreadsheets vary from 320,000 to 311,000. So she's trying to work with them. It's not going well, but we may need more money in there to pay those leases off. We budgeted $279,000, so we could potentially be 50,000 short there, depending on when they decide to cooperate.
But we have other spots to push the money to.
We
It
do.
sounds like for most of the money, or?
Well, honestly, other than the enterprise situation, I would confirm with Dan Kendall for that $378,000 to the YDC Event Center building. That would be the easiest thing to do, and then we can deal with enterprise when they decide to cooperate.
Yeah, well, I-
Or we could maybe try to get someone more aggressively, maybe the commission could try and get a hold of them and say, you guys are not fulfilling.
Oh, I have no
the
problem
obligation
calling
for
them,
this.
telling them, let's go ahead and, we're gonna sell every one of these vehicles.
And then we can use that money and buy stuff.
And,
I don't know why they're being so,
because I've had 2 other rental outfits that other counties have used, that have met at Idaho Association of Counties, that have been calling me regularly, wanting a chance to come in and do leases, and says, we can beat enterprise, no problem.
well, and Bancor's already given us the invoice to pay off the van. We had that thing within 2 days. So I don't know if they're just afraid to lose that cash flow, but they're gonna get a one lump sum payment.
Well, they've had a turnover in some personnel, enterprise has, and that sounds to me like somebody's commissions based on some of this stuff to me. So, I can get on the phone with them too, and I may have a conversation.
I asked Nancy if she would try and find the, not that it's really gonna matter, but the meeting minutes, because Jason and I both remember them saying you could pay these leases off at any time.
Yep.
That was the big sales pitch.
They did, they
So
did.
they're just being obnoxious.
Is
So,
that, we have a written contract with them, I assume?
yes.
Is it in the contract?
Do you have time to look at it?
I didn't see anything about the payoff in the master agreement, but I'm going back to find the other documents from the meetings back then, so.
They're open leases. They should be, it shouldn't be a problem. So, to catch Commissioner Huff up real quick, on the sheet, the ARPA sheet that I sent you, I had reallocated the 6th Street number to the $1,055,000. Shanda updated me with that number. I'm gonna change it to $1,021,225.
Okay.
I zeroed out the roof for Road and Bridge, and the historical restroom remodel, we're gonna zero that out so that they can have some open time. That frees up about $378,000 to reallocate,
Okay.
and the discussion was to move that to the YDC building.
Okay.
And at this point, you guys have been having conversations about the cameras, and it was coming in lower than,
Yeah,
The 400,000.
We need to, before I say for sure, okay, we got this much money, we need to put the specs in, get it out, and let's kind of see.
okay. And that's the way I want to do it anyway. I want to have some ideas. These other 2, we hadn't even started on
Right,
anything,
right.
so. But honestly, that's why we're having these meetings, is to figure out who's up, who's down, where we have funds, and what projects we hit hard.
Well, and as projects finalize, that will also allow me to see if we've got some extra money here and there that will help us out too, to see if we've got more money to reallocate.
Okay.
So, sorry, I'm doing some quick math to see how close that gets us. So we're only about 77,000 short now from putting 2 million total into that building. So if something else drops off, then maybe we can just have that whole facility paid out of here. And
I think we're going to be able to, honestly. I think
And maybe what we can do
adjust.
is, since enterprise is being difficult, maybe we could reduce that and just make that an easy 200,000, and then when we finally get the invoice, I can come up with the money from somewhere else, potentially Pill, to finish paying it off, since we know we're gonna be short in that line too.
Okay.
Do you want me to do that, so that we can get that building at 2 million?
Yeah, well, that's what I'd say.
Okay.
It just. Questions, concerns?
Just here to answer any questions if people have questions. Take any direction if there's some directions for us.
Well, all I know is Dan's got a lot of projects that he's working on. We have the engineering companies working on a lot of projects, but we're gonna meet our deadlines. That's-
Yeah, we got the renderings from the engineering company today.
Oh, did
Or
you?
actually yesterday. Was it yesterday?
I think they were sent out a little bit before, but we got the most recent version.
Yeah, we got the most recent version.
I don't think I've seen this last one then.
That's good.
Good.
Okay.
Any other?
I'll make those changes, and then how often do you want updated? Do you want to do monthly, or do you want to do every 2 weeks?
I still think every 2 weeks, just like this. I mean, it doesn't take long
Okay.
and just keeps us up to date.
Okay.
Like I say, just even the reports, like Dan said, he's down in Downey right now. They have 25 of the 40 sonotubes ready. Get that cured, we can get that building here and get that off the plate too, that part of it, and then we can decide what we're gonna do with the rest of that funds.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I think every 2 weeks is a good discussion.
I think I've gone in 2 weeks, so it'll be 3 weeks. But
Okay, but just regular updates on it would be good.
that'll work.
All right.